So you want me to start?
Here we go. We're going right now. Hey, Louis, how are you, my friend? How's it going this morning?
Good. How about you, man?
Had a little bit of a hectic morning, but we're here. We're excited. I feel like I just saw you.
Yeah.
But that's because I just did see you
Yeah.
4 days ago.
Yep.
We're fresh off of a branded lifestyle portrait session. And have you recovered from the hysterics and the fun that we had during that session?
Yeah, that was great. That was good. Like, that was easy to recover from, but
good.
2-year-old got sick this week, so that's harder.
That's why we're going to zip through this so you can get back to that. Yeah. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we did during the session and the stuff that we did before the session, I just want you to introduce yourself, who you are, who you serve, and why you do what you do.
Sure. So I'm Louis Paredes. I'm the founder of vicemerchant.com. We sell handmade cigar accessories. And I launched it because I wanted to get back into art and also do something within the cigar world that tied my passion for that together. So that's why I'm focusing on handmade cigar accessories that are crafted by ceramic artists, by woodworkers, just some great artists. So that's why I'm doing it.
And the thing about you is that normally I serve speakers, authors, and coaches, which, you're not into that kind of stuff, at least yet, right? Yeah. But the thing that really drew me in to what you do is not only do you serve the cigar community, which I am a part of, so it is near and dear to my heart and is one of the main reasons why I wanted to work with you, but also it was your desire to create an online presence that really truly represented you and your interests and who you are, and really dedicating yourself to building relationships with people. Now, why is that something that's so important to you in your business?
Well, because it makes it real. I don't want to just hawk items. It's like, hey, buy this thing. This thing actually has some power behind it. Like we're talking about a pen. It's a creative tool. You can do so much with it, and that's why it's important for me to connect with people, because when you make those connections, you can find out a person's story and tell that story, and that in turn goes out into the world and inspires other people, makes those connections. And yes, it does help sell the product, but that's not the real goal. The real goal is connect with people, tell great stories, and share this passion that we're doing as well, which happens to be cigar accessories.
Yes. No, exactly. And that's the thing. It's about creating those connections and having those. Listen, at the end of the day, everyone that I'm working with, including myself, has something to sell. We're all in this to make some form of a living, but it's not just that. It's the relationship piece, along with the fact that you you're selling this artwork and you're selling it to an engaged community in a way that's really true to you. And that is definitely something that really drew me in. Nice. And aside from the fact that I like to shoot sexy cigar smoking shots, which we shot a ton of. Now, before you made the decision to invest in this piece of your business, the cigar accessory part, the vice merchant part, what was going on in your mind that actually had you pull the trigger on investing in branded lifestyle portraiture?
Well, I had a good consulting session with Erica Arroyo a while back, and one of her suggestions was to invest in good photography to tell that story. And I had been doing some stuff on my own that was working well, but I knew that in order to do it in a more effective way, I had to hire a pro like you, because there's a limit to what I could have done, and having this library of images is really going to help me out to tell the stories that I want to tell, and stay consistent. Because otherwise, it's like I can't find the time to do, like my little iPhone photography or Instagram live videos consistently. now that I have this library, it's just going to make it that much more easier.
Right. And also, the fact is as much of an artist as you are, you understand the limitations with trying to do it all by yourself. Now, obviously, we had talked extensively prior to the Brand of Lifestyle portrait session with regard to actually, in fact, shooting stuff on your own. But it's not just about shooting on your own. It's about creating that memorable and referable online presence in a way that connects the high level imagery with the in the moment, something magical is happening in my business, in my life, and I need to capture that with my phone, as well as, hey, I had this great idea, something just happened, and I need to capture that photo with my phone because I don't have an actual professional photographer on standby 24/7. So now it's a matter of piecing all of those things together in order to create that very consistent and impactful and memorable online presence. Now, before we started working, before we actually got to the session, we had several strategy calls beforehand. What was the first one? The idea nugget, I think, was the first one. Right. Now, when we were going over that, had you even thought about the way in which you were going to create those stories that were going to go with those images? Or basically, what was the value of having that conversation with me in the workbook and going through all of the different content buckets to think about the types of stories you were going to share?
Sure. Like, it goes back to your first question as to why I did it, why I pulled the trigger. And it was about making this real. If I didn't do this, I would have kept on putting it off, and that momentum that I was building would have slowed down. So that's the big, again, just going back to that first question, it's like that's the biggest reason I did it and wanted to do it. And did I have, a thread already in place as to how I was going to approach it? I think I did, but I think going through that process of that idea nugget workbook and then talking it out with you helped put it all together in a better framework, instead of it being kind of, a thread that was loosely put together. Like now I have, it's in a box, and I have a better idea of what I will be doing. And anytime I get kind of lost, I just think back to that conversation or look at the notes, and it makes it easier to keep it in line, which is hard to do when, you're running your own business and have a sick
I know.
Kid. It's easy to lose track.
Exactly. Now, as far as the workbook itself, did it help create a bunch of different ideas in your mind that you hadn't even thought of, in terms of, this is a really interesting way that I can create content that'll resonate with my audience?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think there's some points in there that forced me to think about it, whereas before, again, I was just kind of avoiding it. And I think it's something normal that anyone who is either launching a business or going through it, there's a level of resistance that you come across, day to day. So having that workbook did kind of turn on some lights. So that was good.
That was good. Well, that's good to hear. That's why we do these things. Now, as far as the strategy session, the pre-session strategy call, where we talked about logistics and we got a little more into the subtle nuances that make you magical and unique. Talk to me a little bit about the value from that phone call for you with respect to laying out the way that we were going to execute all of the objectives in the Brand of Lifestyle portrait session.
Well, I think the biggest thing is it kept, like, having these calls keeps you disciplined. Whereas I think that's the biggest benefit. It's like it kept me on track towards that goal of doing the photo session. So the more we talked about it, the easier it was to keep everything in mind that we wanted to accomplish in mind. So I think that was really good. Otherwise, I think you had mentioned it too. It's like you make it a point to say that you just don't show up. So it made it easier to know what we were going to do, and then do it. Whereas if I didn't do that pre-session call, I would have been really winging it, and felt like I had missed hitting those notes that we wanted to hit.
Right, exactly. Because the last thing that you want is to hope and pray that you end up getting some photos that actually work for the objectives in which you're trying to achieve with Vice Merchant. And obviously, you know, I was actually speaking with another client of mine the other day, and she hired when she was on location for a gig, and there was a photographer there that she knew through another person, and like, hey, you want to get together and do something really quick? And they did something really quick, and it was like really, you know, just kind of showing up, and out of that 2 hours, one photo.
Yeah, it's really hit or miss. Like, you might get lucky every once in a while, but
yeah. So for you, the strategy calls not only helped really streamline and put together exactly what it is that you needed for your image content portfolio moving forward to help tell the stories that you want to tell, but it also kept you disciplined and focused leading up to the actual session itself.
Yeah, it made it real. I made a decision to do this, the business itself,
Yes.
And then adding to that, the decision to do this photography has kept me from chickening out. An excuse to stop. It's like now I'm in it.
What's the app? I mean, okay, so obviously there is that sense of apprehension. What exactly does this apprehension stem from?
Time, because I'm also running another business, Lingerie Journal.
Yes,
so that takes up the bulk of my time and resources. So wanting to do Vice Merchant is for me another way of opening up another revenue stream, another business, doing something that I like to do, and gives me something that I'm not getting from the other business.
Right. Now, so once you got past the initial apprehension regarding the business itself, the apprehension for the photos was not exactly present. You were actually very confident with that. Is that
to do the photos?
Yeah.
I think before leading up to it, it's like, there was that initial fear of like, okay, if I'm doing this, now I'm doing it. But it's twofold. It works in both ways. Like, you might be afraid to commit, but once you do, it makes things easier.
Now, let's talk about the experience that you had during the session. It was about 4.5 hours of nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop cigar smoking, nonstop sitting, typing, all of those fun things together. Talk to me about how that experience was for you in front of the camera. How did you feel going through that process with me?
Really comfortable. I think a few days before, I thought I would be nervous, especially the night before, but I wasn't. And then showing up at the Cigar Inn was really good. Like, it didn't feel like I was walking into something terrifying. Instead, it was just kind of like it felt right. And then during the whole shoot, especially at the beginning, there was no sense of awkwardness or weirdness. It was just easy and comfortable. And I think obviously we got there early, so we had the run of the place, and there was hardly anyone around, and that definitely helped. But overall, just really comfortable and easy. I was surprised by how not weird I felt.
I was happy that you didn't feel weird.
Yeah.
I'm because I can't always say that for every session that I have where there is a sense of awkwardness, because the reality is being in front of a camera kind of is a very it's as if you're putting a spotlight directly in front of your face, and you're the center of attention, and in a lot of cases it becomes very problematic for people. It becomes anxiety inducing, and it starts to have you think about all of the different things that you don't like about your own appearance. And
live videos before, like a few days before and weeks before, I was doing more Instagram live videos. So I think that helped, because like just doing that like helped get me over myself.
That's a huge piece to it, actually. It's getting that familiarity. I mean, also the fact that we've been on the phone for probably about 5 hours total in strategy beforehand doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was a rapport.
Yeah.
And the fact that I appreciate what you do on a level beyond just, you know, being a business owner.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you work in an industry that is very personal to me.
Yeah.
As I enjoy an occasional cigar, which, by the way, was probably one of the best benefits, selfishly for me, is that I got to smoke throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Which was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Really good.
But in terms of the flow of the session, in terms of the different lifestyle activities, how do you feel about the image content portfolio we put together? Do you feel confident that you're going to be able to visually punctuate the sentiments of all of the stories that you plan to share from now going forward?
Yeah, I do. I think I was really happy to see the images that we shot of me doing art. I was afraid that somehow that wasn't going to come across.
Speaking of that, so when you say art, I don't have the photos here to show people, but we're talking about sketching.
Yep.
We're talking about collage work, where you with a roller and gluing together a collage, and also free writing. But going back to the more the physical art stuff, why did you feel it was important to include that in your image content portfolio? When you're selling cigar accessories, why do you have photos of you sketching and drawing and creating collages?
Because it's the creation process that's the most important thing. Because cigars themselves are pieces of art. You know, they're individually made by hand, and each one is unique. And then the cigar accessories that we sell are in the same vein. You know, they're molded by hand, you know, either ceramics or cut wood or bored through in brass. You know, there's a human element in each one of those pieces. And I, as an artist myself, it's important to me to showcase that creative process. You know, I may not be the one, you know, doing the woodwork or cutting the brass, but I am the one also putting together these pieces that reflect those other items. So that's why it was important to me to showcase that, because, you know, like, would you really trust buying a cigar from someone who doesn't smoke cigars or doesn't know anything about it? It'd be really weird. So it's the same thing that I'm trying to get across, is that while I'm not the artist behind all the products, you know, I am an artist behind Vice Merchant, you know, putting together this gallery of the shopping experience.
Yes, exactly. And on top of that, it also illustrates the fact that a very huge piece, personal piece to you that's important.
Yeah.
It is art, and it does represent the type of, or it parallels the art in the handcrafted products that you sell.
Yeah.
But what you're also doing with sharing those process images of creating art and drawing and all of those things is that you're sharing a piece of yourself with the people that you serve, and you're helping create that relationship and that rapport and that connection, because you're giving people a peek into who you are and why you do certain things.
Yeah, I hope it inspires someone too. Like, I hope it inspires someone too. Like, for me, I've been neglecting my art for a long time, and it wasn't until I started Vice Merchant that it's come back into my life. So I hope those images at some point like trigger something in someone else, like, hey, I used to draw, fuck it, I'll do it again.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And that's important, because we're here to create relationships. Regardless of what level of business that you're on, you're always in the process of creating relationships with people in order to bring them in and get them interested in what you do. So that's really important that you did those kinds of images. And actually, it was something that really, I didn't even have to impress upon you. It was kind of as we were talking through the strategy, and for you, it just kind of felt like, oh yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and there was no apprehensions. Like, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of those images. I mean, aside from the fact that they do look very cool. Just sketching in a cigar lounge is kind of a badass thing. So there's definitely nothing wrong with that, you know. But it just ties everything really together very well.
Yeah. If we didn't do that, it wouldn't have worked, I don't think.
Well, it wouldn't have been as effective as an image content portfolio for sure. There definitely would have been a piece missing, because, you know, when we're trying to create that rapport with the people that follow you, it's really obviously you're not going to share everything in your life, right? You're not. There were some things that we discussed that you didn't want to bring up, and that only inspires us to kind of find the themes, the central themes, and the different types of activities within your life that you double down on and share a lot of that. And that's kind of what we did with that. Now, as far as results, obviously, you just got these photos 4 days ago. They're still drying on the they're still drying next to the hamper in the laundry room. But in terms of your expectations going into the session, in terms of the goals that you set out for yourself with respect to the types of images that you wanted to capture, how do you feel that we did working together to achieve those goals?
I think we did really well. Like, I think we hit all the right notes, and, you know, some of the image ideas that we talked about really came through. Like, again, especially the art creation, I think really came through well. And now I just got to put them in motion. Like, that's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah. Well, you're already putting them in motion. I saw something this morning. And it was a post that really was really cool, because you took an image and then you tagged a bunch of people, and it's like, wow, we talked about doing this kind of stuff, and it's like, I was a proud papa. And I've been, because literally I handed you the photos on Tuesday afternoon, and an hour later I saw a post up there. What's your goal with your scheduling situation? How many posts are you looking to do a day, a month? What's your target?
Well, my target is definitely one solid post per day. You know, I definitely aim for 2 per day. But if I can't do 2, I aim to do one solid post that I put some thought into it, write it well, and think about, you know, the hashtags that I want to use and people I want to tag if I do. So that's kind of the schedule I'm looking at. You know, Monday through Saturday, at least 2 posts, and if I can't do 2, I do 1 quality, and get that out there. Maybe 1 Instagram live video per week, just talking about whatever cigar I'm smoking, you know, that day or that week, and just get that out there to just do something a little different. I'm going to try to go into the city more often, and visit a few more places. More cigar lounges, and even in Connecticut, and just try to expose people to what's out there.
Yeah. And then as far as, and while you're in these places, you're going to be snapping selfies and taking photos with your camera phone, right?
Yep.
Now, if there is another professional in the cigar industry listening to this right now, and they think to themselves, well, why the hell would I want to spend thousands of dollars on portraits when I could just simply pull out my phone and have, you know, my employees or myself snap a couple of shots of just some people? Why would I spend my money and my investment on something like that? What would you say to that person to give them the perspective that you have, where you see the value inherently in this session, in this process, in this experience of working on strategizing and executing? What would you tell them to change their mind about that?
I would say, one, you can't do it all on your own all the time. And two, it really does help putting your ideas together with someone else's ideas. And that process of clashing two things together creates something new that you wouldn't get on your own. Not necessarily. Like, you might get lucky talking to yourself, but the benefit is putting your creative mind with someone else and getting something totally new out of that that you wouldn't get there on your own with.
And what about the quality of the images?
I mean, if you're not a photographer, if you're not a professional photographer, like, you're not going to get the same quality. You might get lucky with your iPhone every once in a while. You might get like a super badass image that you have to run through Photoshop a few times. But the quality of images that you get with working with a professional you can't compare. And especially if they help you find a creative way of doing what you want to express, they'll help you get there. Like, there's no other way. I don't think.
I don't think either, but then again, I have a little bit of a biased opinion on that matter, don't I?
What can you do with a selfie stick?
Could you imagine trying to smoke a cigar with a selfie stick in your hand and just kind of try to? Oh, no. I think it's a lot easier to just have some lunatic run around you for 4.5 hours, roll around on the floor, and shoot at will. But then again, well, either way, I had an amazing time with you. That was an awesome experience shooting at the cigar bar, and then in the park around the corner, and just getting to know you and really seeing the beautiful product that you have and all of those really interesting handmade pieces. It's inspiring work. What you do is awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited to see what you do with this business, and I look forward to smoking many more cigars with you in the future, my friend.
Same here. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Louis.
Later, man.